Joining the Army is a very, very big life decision. It's not like going to McDonald's. You have to work 9 to 5.
The Army likes an all-volunteer force for several reasons. One, it lets the Army be more selective, and we can focus more on quality.
What do you think about being drafted if you don't want to go? How about the women?
Women have the same political rights, then they should be expected to have the same duties.
We let women vote on this, but they can't be drafted.
My reason for joining the Army was just to basically serve my country. Honestly, it was.
The government should be able, in a sense, to require or demand certain things of citizens.
In ancient Greece, for example, you could not be a full citizen unless you were ready to shoulder arms.
You're already being made to do things for your government. Opt in, buy in, you're part of the country. Deal with it.
I think the most important thing is the individual's right to choose what they want to do with their life, since after all, that is why we have democracy in the first place.
I'm caught right in the middle because I believe everybody should want to serve their country at least a couple years.
Well, historically, there's a very strong linkage between the obligation to military service on the one hand and possessing the full rights of citizenship on the other. In ancient Greece, for example, you could not be a full citizen unless you were ready to shoulder arms, and indeed in many of the Greek city-states, you were expected to bring your own arms to the field, your own shield and sword and horse or whatever it might be. Well down into modern history, this linkage between citizenship and service has been very, very strong. In the 19th century, the era after Napoleon, most of the European countries had massive conscript armies. The United States did not. It was a distinguishing characteristic of this society, and indeed it's why many immigrants came here, was to avoid military service in Europe. The one exception to that in the 19th century is the Civil War, when both the Confederacy and the Union had to resort to obligatory forced military conscription in order to fill out the ranks of their armed forces. The draft was administered by military officers who actually came in uniform into districts and forced people into service, and there was plenty of resistance to that. The most notorious example is in New York City. There were major draft riots when largely Irish immigrants who had come to this country not anticipating military service refused to serve. Dozens of people were killed. Contrary to a lot of mythology, there was plenty of resistance to the draft in the First World War. There were some 300,000 identified draft evaders. The people who ran the draft in the First World War learned, or thought they learned, from some